Hey Strataflats, it's Karri, the program coordinator at the Baum School of Art. I'm excited to be here with you guys again. Happy Thursday. I hope you're having a nice week and that you're staying safe. So we're going to spend a little bit of time together working on a creative project. And what I have in mind today, I don't know if you guys saw the pictures to kind of, show you what it's about, but we're doing a geometric abstract art. It's pretty simple to do, pretty fun. Hi guys, I see you all popping on. Great to see you. Thanks for joining. It's pretty simple to do. It's fun for all ages and all skill levels, and it has a really nice finished look. I think it's a pretty fun project. It keeps you really busy. This piece total took me about an hour and a half. But honestly, you guys, I'm I press really hard when I color, so that probably took a bit of time because I have to have it look really nice and bold with the colors. So it's definitely a fun thing you can work on either tonight or this weekend to keep your mind busy. So we will need a piece of paper. Any paper is good for this. I just used a mixed media paper, but anything you have lying around is fine. You will need some type of permanent marker, like a Sharpie would work. I just have this like a permanent marker. You do want it to be permanent because when you are coloring over your lines and coloring in your shapes, you don't really want your marker to smudge. Like if it was a washable, it might smudge a little bit. So definitely a permanent marker. We will need colored pencils. I just have this really basic set. It has pretty many colors. It was pretty inexpensive. If you have less colors, that's fine. You can also use crayons with this if that's what you have, or markers as well. With the markers, you might not be able to do as much shading, but it still has a really awesome effect at the end. So to get started, we just need our piece of blank paper. And I went ahead and I made some templates to kind of get my shapes. You can do that too if you want to. I just did some basic shapes that I could use as tracers, just like triangle, rectangle. I did 2 different size circles, another kind of smaller rectangle. So I have 6 different shapes here, 6, 7, or whatever you feel like you want to do. You can freehand your shapes on it too if you feel comfortable with drawing your shapes. I just kind of did this to help me out because I really wanted the shapes to have a crisp look to them. So you can either do that, you can trace your shapes, you can freehand them, you can also do kind of free form designs on it. So these are obviously a geometric shape to kind of do the geometric abstract design, but you can do kind of organic shapes as well. So I have a little example, just kind of a sheet to show you these are geometric shapes versus organic shapes. So geometric are obviously your standard shapes, and your organic shapes are kind of just more free-form, swirly shapes. You're just kind of going with the flow and just kind of creating whatever you like. So those are kind of your 2 options that you can do. You could do it all in free-form shapes if you want. You could do all of these really cool swirlies. So you want to get your paper and your black marker. I'm going to use my tracers, and I just kind of started with one of the bigger ones. So I started with this triangle because it was pretty big, and I just started tracing my shapes on, and I didn't have any rhyme or reason about it. I just kind of went with what I thought looked nice. But I do want you to overlap your shapes. You do get a lot more to color in if you're overlapping your shapes. So I went ahead and traced a few on here just so you could see and so that you don't have to sit here and watch me trace shapes. So that's kind of how I started. I did, for this square, you see I kind of had it go off of the page a bit too. So definitely have your shapes go off the page, have them overlap, because not only will you have the shape, but you'll also have this overlap part too to color in. So it makes a lot of fun options for you. But definitely have some of the shapes go off of the page as well. something like that. You got your kind of half circle going there. So I went ahead and I completed this. So you'll want to do that. You'll want to work independently, however you feel. If you want it to be a little bit, you know, like kind of symmetrical, that's fine. Whatever works. It's totally up to you. Just be creative with it. If you want to do freeform shapes, you can do freeform shapes. So I have an example where I did some geometric shapes. You can see the triangle and the rectangles and circle in there. And then I did some freeform kind of just swirly lines in there. So it gave me a lot of options to color in and do a lot of different things in there. So that was kind of the freeform one. I did one that was all swirls. And I just kind of just took my marker and just kept swirling it around the page and looping and overlapping. And that also gave a really cool effect too. So there's no wrong way to do it. Just kind of get your lines down on the page. The next thing you'll want to do is start adding some color to your awesome shapes that you have on there. And I want to talk to you guys about shading and blending. So I don't know if you had a chance to watch the pointillism tutorial that I did 2 weeks ago. I kind of talked a little bit about value. So value is when you're moving from like light to dark of a shade. So I have a little sheet here to kind of show you my helpful sheet. So this would be value up here. We have we're pressing hard. We're using pressure control with our colored pencil I used for this. And as I'm pressing really hard, it's really dark. And as I'm releasing some of the pressure, it gets lighter and lighter. So that's your value right there. So you want to kind of take that into consideration when you're coloring in some of your shapes. You see I did in that circle, I did really dark around the edges and then I lightened it, dark, lightened, dark, lightened. So you kind of want to incorporate that shading into it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You can make them all solid colors too. Like just, if that's easier for you and you don't want to venture into shading, that's totally fine. And then blending, my example down here, I have this kind of darker green and I faded it into a lighter green there. So you can see I did exactly this, but I did it down here. I started with the dark green, moving my way over, and then the light green, moving my way this way. So you can see some examples there of how I blended the color. So you could use that in your shapes as well. So you will have all of your shapes down in your paper. You've got some shading ideas, some blending ideas. You want to think about the colors that you want to use. There's no wrong colors to use. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking, you guys. There's no wrong colors to use. I kind of went with some bold colors there. I started with the yellow and then I moved on to the blue because I like the way they look next to each other. Then I added the orange and the purple because I like the way they look. So it's really just about whatever you feel and whatever colors you want to use. If you want to go a little bit more like monochromatic with it, you could really just do like all of it in red and you could use your shading and just do different pressure on your coloring so that you have different shades of red. That's fine too. Whatever you feel, you could do a bunch of these so that you have a variety of different techniques that you can use. Okay, so you just want to start laying your color out, thinking about what you want to do. I did color in a few examples here just so you could see how I got started. So I just kind of played with a little bit of color here to show you. This one I did a blue, kind of faded into a green blending. This is like a red faded into a pink. This one I did solid, like a purple color. And then this one is a yellow kind of faded into the orange. So the way that I colored, I started with one color. So on my example, I had started with the yellow. So I would have just picked a few spots that I thought looked great. I don't like them next to each other. So you can kind of see on my example, my yellows are pretty spaced out from each other. Kind of towards the end, I had extra spots, so they got a little closer. But I tried to keep them like pretty distanced from each other. So it wasn't just like yellow next to yellow. Like I wouldn't have put yellow like right here and then also colored this purple block in yellow. It wouldn't have looked quite right. So just keep that in mind when you're coloring. Let's see. Andrea, we've got a question. So it can be random or intentional. Absolutely. It can be however you want to put put your shapes on here. It doesn't have to be, there's no rule. There's literally no rule. However you feel that you want to color it, and whatever colors you want to use is absolutely fine. It's a great creative project. So really just get your colors on there and utilize the blending and the shading. I did a little bit of kind of blending in the green, and I did some shading in the purples. I kind of like shaded the purple into a gray. I really like this project because it allows you to really experiment and get creative with your color. You can kind of get a feel of what colors you like next to each other. You can experiment with your blending and your shading. And if you're shading and you don't like the way that it looks, you can color it solid. There's really just, it's very forgiving. So you can absolutely work with it. So you just want to keep coloring it in. You can work on that independently and color however you would like. If you decide you don't like it, you can start fresh. This is something that you don't need a lot of supplies for. If you need to go onto another piece of paper, that's fine. Or you can work your mistakes in. So, if there's something that you don't like, just kind of go with it and work it into your design. You don't know, it might turn out really awesome. I did do one example of one that I did with just all swirls. So I had showed you kind of like this was, I did like just all the swirls. I had done one like that and I colored it all in, and I used colored pencils for this one. I really like this one. I like the kind of roundness of it. This one's very like, it's got the right angles and the harsh angles. And that looks really awesome, but I kind of liked the softness of the angles, the lines in this one. So you can see it's really simple. You just kind of go with the flow, really. And you've got a really awesome piece in the end. If you guys have any questions, definitely let me know. I'd love to help you out and kind of guide you through it while we still have a couple minutes together. Please feel free to kind of let me know your questions, and definitely share your artwork. You can send it to me. My email is Karri, Karri, at baumschool.org. I'd love to see your work. I really would. If you want to share it on Instagram or your Facebook, that would be great too. I definitely would love to see it, you guys. So thanks for hanging out with me for a couple minutes tonight. I hope you have a lot of fun with this. I hope you enjoy it. It's definitely something that can take up some time. You can do this. I was actually like just listening to music and working on this, so it's definitely not something you have to be 100% focused on. It's just allows your mind to be a little creative and just kind of be relaxed and stress-free. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Have an awesome Thursday and an awesome weekend, and we will see you next time. Stay safe and stay creative. Have a great night.